Greetings. I am a representative of the anti-Semite movement. These videos are not edited. They are AI assisted and read from script. This is part 2 of Moses, Israelites ANTISINITES. Let's dwell deeper into the themes and parallels between the journey of the Israelites and the anti-Semite movement. The journey of transformation, sinful slavery, and liberation from sin. We were in sinful slavery, and now we are to be liberated from sin. Israelites ruled by Pharaoh. The Israelites' physical slavery in Egypt is a metaphor for sinful bondage. Their liberation through Moses represents a divine intervention to free them from their physical as well as mental bondage. Sounds familiar? Anti-Semite movement. We as individuals are seen as being in mental and behavioral bondage to sin. Mental and behavioral bondage to sin. And the anti-Semite movement aims to liberate us from this through a process of sin-free awakening and transformation in obedience to God's commandments. This is very important to note. The anti-Semite program's aim is to liberate us by the process of sin-free awakening by way of our obedience, submission, and practice of God's divine commandments. God's commandments are a behavioral science given to humanity for humanity's return to oneness within God's likeness and image. Our guidance for living while in the flesh on earth is our wilderness experience. The wilderness experience, Israelites wandering, the 40 years in the wilderness was a period of testing, teaching, awakening, purification, and preparation. It was during this time that the Israelites learned to rely on God, receive His laws, and build a new identity as a people to live free from bondage by application of use and practice of God's commandments. Anti-Semite journey, the path to a sin-free life, is also seen as a wilderness experience. It involves trials, self-reflection, self-examination, self-analysis, self-control, and a gradual shedding of sinful behaviors. This period is essential for sin-free growth and developing a closer relationship with God, for further removal of impediments hindering us from entering the promised land of sin-free living during the here and now. Overcoming fear and resistance, fear of the unknown. Israelites fear. Despite witnessing great works on their behalf, the Israelites feared the unknown challenges of the promised land. Their fear made them long for the familiar, even if it meant returning to slavery. Modern resistance. Today, many people fear the unknown aspect of a sin-free life. They might cling to familiar sins because they provide a sense of a false comfort, false security, or fleeting pleasure. The anti-Semite movement encourages overcoming these fears by trusting in God's promises and guidance for a better life. Resistance to change. Rebellion against Moses. At various points, the Israelites rebelled against Moses, leadership, and God's commands. This resistance was rooted in fear, in reluctance to change their lives. Resistance in the anti-Semite context. Similarly, individuals resist the call to sinlessness, finding it difficult to abandon long-held habits and beliefs. The movement emphasizes the importance of perseverance, righteousness, fortitude, and steadfastness in overcoming this inner personal resistance to God's guiding hand. The generational shift. Old generation versus new generation. Israelites' generational change. The older generation's inability to enter the promised land symbolizes the difficulty of changing entrenched mindsets. The new generation, born in the wilderness, was more open to embracing the new covenant with God. However, the older generations still pressured the new generation to bow down to Pharaoh and their fearful indoctrination, still fearful of vexing the ex-slave master. Pharaoh's loyalists amongst them still attempting to hold on to lingering power and influence they held in Pharaoh's court. Many of today's so-called preachers and teachers desire for the people to remain in need of them. Were they to lead the people to God's commandments, these preachers would have to move out of the way and allow the people to adopt their own personal relationship with God. By the people concentrating and focusing their total and undivided attention upon their own personal relationship between God and the law God brought for the people's successful journey into the promised land of sin-free living. Anti-Semite generational perspective. A generational perspective of the anti-Semite movement. The movement suggests that the complete adoption of a sin-free life is more attainable for newer generations. These generations, less influenced by past sinful practices, are seen as more capable of fully embracing and living out the principles and practices of sinlessness. Embracing the divine plan. We must embrace the divine plan, old and young. Faith and trust. Anti-Semite and Israelites' faith journey. The journey requires immense faith in God's plan. Even when the path is uncertain, trusting in God's guiding law was crucial for the Israelites to move forward, as well as it is for the anti-Semite to move forward, which includes all righteous beliefs, Muslims, Christians, Hebrews, Jews, and others who know and understand that sin-free living is the only pathway to God. This includes all righteous beliefs, Muslims, Christians, Hebrews, Jews, and others who know and understand that sin-free living is the only pathway to God. Anti-Semite belief. Similar living a sin-free life requires deep belief and desire in the divine plan, trusting that God's guidance will lead us to a fulfilled and righteous life is a cornerstone of any righteous movement based on obedience, submission, and practice of God's commandments. Receiving divine guidance. The law at Mount Sinai. The law given at Mount Sinai, the giving of the law at Mount Sinai was a pivotal moment where the Israelites received divine instructions on how to live. As anti-Sinites, we have received approximately 90 years ago 26 commandments of divine behavioral instructions on how we are to live sin-free today and beyond. From the time of Moses and the Israelites 4,000 years ago and the Ten Commandments, sin has increased. As such, the number of God's commandments has increased. God's commandments are a behavioral science to guide today's new generations of anti-Sinites into the promised land of sin-free living. The increase in the number of laws does not negate the Ten Commandments brought through Moses and are still to be obeyed. Anti-Sinite guidance. The movement emphasizes adherence to divine principles and practices, teachings, and essential for maintaining a sin-free lifestyle. This guidance directs individuals how to navigate the challenges of living without sin. The promise of a sin-free life, the promised land. Entering the promised land, the promise of a sin-free life, physical and mental fulfillment. For the Israelites and the anti-Sinite, the promised land was and is not only a physical territory, but also a symbol of sin-free fulfillment and divine promise. Sin-free existence. The anti-Sinite movement envisions a similar state of fulfillment, where individuals live in harmony with divine will, free from the constraints of sin. This state is known as the ultimate realization of God's promise for a pure, righteous life and sin-free existence. There are practical steps in the anti-Sinite movement: education and awareness, teaching principles just as Moses taught the Israelites the laws and commandments. The anti-Sinite movement focuses on educating individuals about the laws, principles, and practice of living a sin-free life. Educating individuals about the laws, principles, and practices of living a sin-free life. We have community support. We have to come together as a community and support one another. Building a supportive community is essential, just as the Israelites were a community on their journey. The anti-Sinite movement fosters a sense of collective support and accountability, personal and communal commitment. Personal transformation. Each individual committed to a personal transformation. Each individual's commitment to sinlessness is crucial. This involves self-reflection, repentance, and a continuous effort to align one's actions and behavior with divine principles and practices. Communal effort. The movement also emphasizes the importance of communal efforts to create an environment that supports and encourages sin-free living. This involves communal prayers, shared values, and collective actions and behaviors aimed at promoting righteousness. The story of the anti-Sinite's journey from Egypt to the Promised Land serves as a profound metaphor for the anti-Sinite movement. It highlights the challenges and triumphs of transforming from a state of sin to one of sinlessness. By understanding and embracing the lessons from this biblical narrative, individuals find inspiration and guidance in our journey towards a sin-free life. The movement calls for a deep commitment to sinless, renewal, trust in divine guidance, and a collective effort to build a community that embodies the principles and practice of righteousness and purity. Peace.